Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jody and this is Jody Journals. I chronicle all of my artful endeavors, including baking. Today we're going to be making pinwheel cookies. They are a type of shortbread. I love a good shortbread cookie. They're very simple and very delicious. This one you add some cocoa powder to, so anything with more chocolate is more better to me, so come on along. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to cream 1 cup of softened butter. To that, you're going to add 2 cups of white sugar and 1/2 cup of brown sugar. You can do this recipe with your mixer if you are not a masochist like I am. I like to mix my cookies by hand because I feel like I earn the amount of calories I'm about to eat by burning them, by mixing them up. So I use a rice paddle to mix all of my cookies, but a good old-fashioned wooden spoon is probably the better tool for this. So yeah, I add in my sugars and we cream those together. The next step here is to add the first of your 2 eggs and your vanilla. The recipe calls for a tablespoon of vanilla or a teaspoon of vanilla. I never measure my vanilla, I just give it a good old glug. So you'll see me just put a glug of vanilla in there. Now that that's fully mixed in, you are going to add the second of your 2 eggs and give it one more really good mix. Next, you're going to set aside a 1/4 cup of flour in a bowl, and we will be using this later. And you will be adding in 3.5 cups of flour to the dough, 1 cup at a time. It seems like it won't all mix in, but it will. Just keep going. Like I said before, this is a shortbread recipe, so it's going to be a dough that you're able to handle. It's not going to be a sticky dough like a drop cookie, like a chocolate chip cookie would be. It's a firmer dough, so there's a lot more flour in here so that you'll be able to handle it later. Just keep mixing, just keep mixing, just keep mixing. I forgot to mention that you're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I snuck that in there while I was chit-chatting away. It's right about now that I start questioning my decision to make cookies by hand and not using my mixer. So again, if you don't want a bicep the size of the Hulk, you may want to use your mixer for this recipe. Okay, once everything's all mixed together, you're going to divide your dough in half. The first half, you're going to add that 1/4 cup of flour that you had set aside before and incorporate that fully into the dough. Like I said, I do this by hand. You can still be doing this in your mixer if you prefer. Doing this by hand is just, I don't know, I'm a sensory kind of person, a good sensory experience. So anyway, you just mix it all up until it's fully incorporated. Then you're going to roll it out on your piece of parchment to about 10 inches by 12 inches, and it should be around 1/4 inch thick. I use a butter knife to just trim the edges of the dough as I'm rolling it out, and then I just add the little trimmings back into the sheet that I'm rolling out in any spots that look sparse. There's no exact science to this, just play with it until you get it how you want it. If it's a particularly warm day or your hands are really warm and it starts getting a little bit sticky, just pop it in the fridge for like 10 minutes or the freezer for like 5 minutes and bring it back out, and it should be workable. It's kind of fun moving the dough around. Kind of reminds me of sugar cookies at Christmas when you get to shape them how you want. It's a really fun shortbread recipe, like I said. Now we're on to the second chunk of dough, and instead of adding 1/4 cup flour, you're going to add 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. And that's what's going to give these pinwheel cookies the two-tone look. So you'll be doing exactly what you did before, and you're going to knead the cocoa powder until it's fully incorporated. And then you'll be rolling it out into a 10 by 12 rectangle again. I say approximately, just make sure that the rectangles are the same size. It doesn't really matter if they're this exact measurement. Just make sure that both sheets of dough end up the same size. I love to bake just for fun, and I love baking cookies. Cookies is my favorite thing to bake. I also really enjoy making pies, and not just sweet pies. I like making savory pies as well. My husband and his family are British, so savory pies are always a big hit in our household. And if you're interested in anything like that, baking not just sweets, but savories as well, let me know down below. I'd be happy to share some recipes as we go along. Alright, now that our rectangles are the same size, I like to stack mine up. I'll throw a third piece of parchment over that top one, and you're going to put them in the fridge for a half hour to just chill out. This gives a chance for the flour to absorb all of the delicious butter and for things to be fully incorporated. Half hour later, you're going to preheat your oven to 350 and pull them out of the fridge. This is the part that takes a little bit of technique, but it's not so hard. You're going to put one dough sheet on top of the other, and then you're going to start rolling it tightly from one long end. The dough should still be workable out of the fridge. If it's a little bit crumbly, feel free to leave it out for about 5 minutes. It was a warm day, so my dough was ready to rock. I like to chill them on the parchment because the parchment paper is helpful for getting the roll going nice and tight. So you're going to just roll it as tightly as you possibly can. I like to roll mine and like kind of give it a few squeezes from the outside just to make sure there's no air pockets. You really want both doughs to laminate to each other, so to stick to each other. And then you're going to take a sharp knife. I just took a steak knife, and you're going to slice 1/2-inch discs. Your end pieces are going to be ugly, and that's okay. Those are for you to eat while you're waiting for the rest of the cookies to cool. At least that's my theory. But the middle of the log should start looking a little bit more swirly, like that. And you're going to bake them for around 10 to 12 minutes in the oven until you'll notice the light dough go slightly golden. The dark dough, you won't see any change in color, but they will rise ever so slightly, but they don't spread. They keep their shape. Another thing is if it's just a couple people or just you at home, these freeze really, really well. I only have myself and my husband at home, so 20 cookies is way, way too many for us to eat. So what I do is I just grab a freezer bag and I pre-slice the cookies and I put them in the freezer laying flat. And you can pull them out a couple at a time and bake them off, or, you know, bake all of the ones that you froze all at the same time, whatever you need. So that's something that I like to do, is make the full batch and then just freeze the ones we aren't eating right away for use later. All right, into the oven, 10 to 12 minutes. I also love to gift these cookies just because they look super duper fancy, but really they're just a shortbread cookie that you've dyed half a different color. And they're actually super easy. I highly, highly recommend this recipe, especially if you're a beginner baker. I've had a lot of success with these cookies. I've actually never failed making these cookies. They're super simple and super delicious, and makes you look like you know what you're up to. That's all we have for you today on Jody Journals. Thanks for hanging around. See you next time. Bye. And don't forget, the uglier they are, the better they taste for the chef.